The story begins in 2006 with Fujinuma Satoru, a struggling 29-year-old manga artist in Chiba Prefecture. He occasionally encounters a phenomenon he calls revival, where a bright blue butterfly sends him back in time for a few minutes to stop a fatal occurrence from happening close to him when it is going to happen. When he utilizes this uncontrollable power to save a boy from a speeding truck, he is sent to the hospital for a few days as a result. As he recovers, Irie Katagira, a coworker, praises him for saving a life. Later, he receives a visit from his mother Sachiko, who reminds him of an incident that occurred in their Hokkaido hometown 18 years prior, when an adult by the name of Jun Shiratori, aka Yuki, was apprehended for the kidnapping and murder of 3 local children, including 2 of Satoru's classmates. The following day, when Satoru undergoes another revival, Sachiko notices a man who appeared to be attempting to abduct a child. After more investigation, Sachiko concludes that the man was the actual murderer from 18 years ago, but unfortunately she is assassinated at Satoru's apartment before she can tell anybody. Just as Satoru finds Sachiko's body and is accused of killing her, his revival ability activates and crosses the line by sending his 29-year-old mind all the way back to 1988, when he was just an 11-year-old elementary school student in Hokkaido. As Satoru becomes confused by the circumstances of his situation, he finds solace in being able to visit his mother once again. He soon realizes that being transferred to this time period by revival is related to Sachiko's eventual death and then begins his detective journey. On the advice of his friend Kenya Kobayashi, Satoru reads an essay written by Ko Hinazuki, one of his classmates who was slain by the serial kidnapper. He also takes note of a bruise on Ko's thigh, which along with the essay provides more insight into her difficult life at home. Satoru then invites Ko to his birthday celebration in an effort to better understand her and hopefully prevent her from being killed. In order to prevent accidentally changing the future, Satoru purposely holds back from winning an ice skating competition, which angers his classmates and disappoints Ko. As Satoru discovers that Ko's birthday is on March 2nd, the same day as his, he concludes that Ko will be kidnapped on March 1st because the kidnapping occurred just a day before her birthday. He then goes to spend some time with Yuki, the supposed serial kidnapper, but is not convinced that Yuki is the culprit. Later that day, Satoru discovers a beaten-up Ko in her own shed and learns the entire extent of her terrible relationship with her mother, Akemi. He then has a conversation back at school with his teacher, Gaku Yashira, who describes how he has been looking for evidence to convict Akemi of child abuse for almost a year but hasn't been successful. During class, Satoru defends Ko as she is suspected of stealing lunch money and later brings her up a mountain to show her a frost-covered Christmas tree to cheer her up. With Sachiko's help, Satoru manages to get Ko to go to the local neighborhood science museum with him. During their excursion, Satoru experiences déjà vu and becomes concerned that the same terrible events will repeat again. However, March 1st passes without any incidents, and both Satoru and Ko are able to enjoy their birthdays the next day. Just as Satoru is convinced he has forever changed history, Ko goes missing and doesn't show up for class the day after. Another schoolgirl vanishes a few days later, and Satoru is furious that he was powerless to stop it. After seeing Akemi discard Ko's possessions, Satoru finds himself unexpectedly back in 2006, still wanted for Sachiko's murder and having to flee from the authorities. Soon after in present day, Satoru meets Irie, who accepts his innocence and invites him to stay at her home. There, he discovers that his actions did indeed alter the facts of Ko's disappearance but only by a little bit. The following day, as Satoru conducts his investigations, Irie helps him again by preventing her manager from calling the police to report him. Later that night, after assisting Satoru in finding another place to hide, Irie receives a text message from Sachiko's phone before getting caught in a house fire. After seeing the burning house, Satoru runs in to save Irie, who quickly puts her phone into his pocket before the manager takes over the rescue effort. Satoru then finds a number left behind by Sachiko when searching through Irie's phone messages. He calls the number and sets up a meeting with Sawada, a journalist friend of Sachiko's. Sawada informs him of Sachiko's last phone contact, in which she claimed to know the identity of the real kidnapper but was unable to tell him before she was killed. Additionally, he provides an explanation for the information regarding KO's death by pointing out how Yuki's framing matches another kidnapping in the same area and concludes that the real kidnapper is the one who killed Sachiko. While Satoru researches Sawada's findings and studies a list of prior suspects, Sawada visits Irie at the hospital, only to find out that Irie's mother has switched places with her to demonstrate Satoru's innocence. Satoru then meets with Irie, who tells him about a mystery man named Nishizano who might have started the fire. In the midst of their talk, the police suddenly show up and take Satoru into custody. As Satoru is being taken away, he sees the man he spotted leaving his apartment the night of his mother's murder. Determined to not let things end the way they are, Satoru uses all of his willpower to successfully activate his revival and travel back to February 28, 1988. The following day at school, Kenya confronts Satoru about KO's situation at home, saying that he has been aware of the domestic abuse for some time, and offers to help. On March 2, after the birthday celebration, Satoru throws a rock through Yuki's window to get the attention of police, and then provides them with a plausible excuse for Yuki's whereabouts. Satoru then goes looking for Akemi and almost knocks her down some stairs before Kenya stops him, and persuades him to take a different action. With KO's consent, Satoru abducts her and takes her to an abandoned bus where they would hide out for a few days until it is determined that she is safe. However, on the evening of March 3, an unidentified intruder breaks inside the bus as KO is sleeping. KO manages to flee the situation, and when the trespasser leaves the bus, he leaves a footprint on a box that he kicked. The following night, while their teacher Yashira investigates KO's home with several members of the Child Consultation Center, KO informs Satoru and the others about the intruder from the abandoned bus. They discover a bag that was presumably left behind by the culprit, as well as tools Satoru recognized as the ones used to accuse Yuki of killing KO. After realizing he is still caught up in the cycle of kidnapping murders, Satoru brings KO to spend the night at his house, where Sachiko had been waiting for them. The next morning, KO eats her first ever homemade breakfast, which causes her to break down in tears. Satoru and Sachiko then follow KO home to confront Akemi. Akemi is then caught in the act by Yashira and the consultants, as she reacts violently to Satoru and Sachiko's accusations. As Akemi is being taken away by the police, her estranged mother approaches her and apologizes for not being able to help her after forcing her to leave her abusive husband and raise KO on her own, which causes Akemi to second-guess her own actions. With KO safely departing to live with her grandmother, Satoru shifts his focus to the other two potential victims, Hiromi Sugita, a classmate, and Aya Nakanishi, a student at a nearby school. While keeping an eye on both Hiromi and Aya, Satoru notices a stash of candy in Yashira's car as he gets a ride home. Later that day, Satoru, Kenya, and Hiromi visits the abandoned bus for further investigation, only to find everything inside emptied out. They also recruit Aya into their crew and she joins them at their hideout. Later on, Satoru quietly follows Misato Yanagihara, one of his classmates who is suspected to have framed KO, but she appears to vanish after using the restroom. When Satoru sees a truck belonging to Yuki's family leaving the area, he calls Yashira to pick him up in his car so they can pursue the truck together. Along the way, Yashira comes clean about being the murderer and admits he knew it was Satoru who was getting in the way of his ambitions. He reveals that he lured Satoru into his stolen car using Misato as bait, then immediately rolls the car into a frozen lake with Satoru still inside. As a result of Yashira's attempt to kill him, Satoru wakes up in the year 2003 after spending 15 years in a coma. His mother gave him everyday care as his body continued to develop, but he no longer remembers what happened in the past. Kenya, Hiromi, and KO, who is now Hiromi's wife and the mother of their young son, Mirai, all pay Satoru a visit. From these visits, certain memories are triggered and Satoru slowly begins to remember the past. Later, he runs across Yashira, who has changed his name to Nishizano and is now a politician, as well as Kumi, a leukemia sufferer who is due to have surgery. 2 days before Kumi's surgery, Yashira takes Satoru to the rooftop where he confirms Yashira's concerns that he has regained his memories. In a flashback, it is revealed that following KO's visit, all of Satoru's memories came back, and he informed Kenya and Hiromi that Yashira was the murderer. Back on the rooftop, Yashara boasts that his prior offenses have already long exceeded the statute of limitations and he cannot be arrested. He admits that he planned to have Satoru falsely accused of killing Kumi by tampering with her IV drip. Then, he threatens to throw Satoru off the roof and make it appear as a suicide. Satoru calls Yashara's bluff and claims that Yashara cannot survive without him. This seems to be the case when Yashara initially prevents Satoru from rolling his wheelchair off the roof. However, Yashara ultimately lets Satoru fall and makes preparations for his own suicide. But soon enough, he then finds out Satoru's friends have caught him and the police have arrived to arrest him. In 2010, 7 years after the incident, Satoru has established himself as a successful manga artist. One day, Satoru comes across a blue butterfly and unexpectedly runs into Irie under the same bridge where they once sat and where he vanished during his last revival journey into the not-too-distant past.